Welcome to A Healthier, Happier You, the people working to make it happen. I'm Evan J. Cholfin from Luxhammer, where we help the brands that help you live healthier. Today, we're joined by Paolo Sandri, Sustainable Textiles Advocate at Indorama Ventures, the world's leading PET manufacturer and recycler. Paolo is at the forefront of transforming the textiles industry through sustainable innovation. Paolo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Evan. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, can you share Indorama's journey from local wool startup to becoming a global leader in sustainable chemistry?
Well, our business was created in 1994 by Mr. Alok Elohia, and it was a business producing PET. It was a small wool business, and then it quickly evolved into a business producing PET resin. And through a quick series of very wise mergers and acquisition in the year 2000, it soon became a global company producing basic chemicals, oxides, PET for the packaging sector, and polyester fiber for the textile industry. So currently, we are the biggest manufacturer in the world of PET for the packaging and also polyester. And it's great to be one of the biggest players in the world because we have in this way we have the chance to really contribute in shaping the sustainability effort that is being done worldwide by I would say, the whole industry to become more sustainable and circular and make sure our products create the value for the society that we live in, but also do not create any more environmental externality.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, what makes your approach to sustainable textiles unique in the industry?
Well, I'm very passionate to this topic because I started working on it a few years ago when I used to work in an industry association here in Brussels, informing policy decisions for sustainability and trade policy for the textile industry overall. And then I was contacted by Indorama to take care for their sustainability effort in the public sphere, in the public arena. And it was a no-brainer for me. It's an incredible journey. The vision is one that really enthuses me. The vision of our founder and CEO is to decarbonize our feedstock. So that's the ultimate goal. Become carbon free or carbon neutral within our feedstock by 2050, and by 2030. The goal is to decarbonize 4 million tons a year of feedstock, which it's massive if you think about it. And there's no silver bullet to that. There is a mix approach, a multitude actions that you have to take. We are currently leading the effort in the industry for textile to textile recycling. Again, the technology is there since a few years, but there is a multitude of technologies, and we're investing in a few of them to make sure that we really meet the client's expectation and needs. But recycling is, I would say, the biggest chunk of the equation, but it's not the only part of the equation. In this equation, and especially in the journey to decarbonization, we also need to make sure we have bio-based polymers, bio-based materials, making sure we don't compete with food production. So this is really our key goal. And making use of the biomass, of the marginal biomass that wouldn't be used in the food industry, is really an enabler of a low carbon and a carbon neutral circular economy for textiles and many other applications. So this is the long-term view. How do we get there? We are a very important actor in this journey, but I don't think there's anybody really big enough to really truly achieve circular economy for textiles. We're doing this together with many actors all across the industrial value chain. Let's not forget that this industrial value chain includes public authorities, governments, and consumers. We are all part of the equation. We are all part of the game, and we all need to do our bit. And what I observed from my position that things are really moving at a fast pace in the right direction. So this is encouraging. It's really motivating. Although it's a joke that somebody told me recently that if we make such a quick progress, my job very soon would be void and obsolescence. But that's I would be happy to see that, and I'm ready to take on other challenges if we make it. I think it's worth. I think it's worth. But apart from jokes, um, what I see for circular textiles in an ideal world is that yes, industry is fully committed in making textiles recyclable and recycled. But recycling is not the silver bullet for the overall circular economy. It's the biggest chunk, but you need an infrastructure in place. You need a full ecosystem, which is what we are building with our industrial partners on the market. And this is interesting to see because we are still competitors on the market with our colleagues, but we also see a cooperation to build this infrastructure and to build this industrial ecosystem. And this is, I think, a very interesting phenomenon that will be thoroughly described in history books in a few years' time.
Yeah, definitely. So, for those who aren't aware, could you explain the circular economy concept and how you play your part?
So the very concept of the circular economy is to keep the value of material within the economic loop, ideally forever. Then it's not always technically possible forever, so we say for as long as possible, which is anyhow a very long time range. But to achieve that, we need a multitude of instruments and a multitude of initiatives. This translates into the everyday life of consumers. If I have to be very clear, well, first of all, something that comes very natural, very second nature to the consumer instincts, at least till a few years ago, to use our clothes, to use our items for as long as possible. So to preserve their lives, to prolong their lifespan for as long as possible, either by reuse, resell, depending, on the local cultures and the local trends. And then also to once a product has reached its final stage in the life cycle, we need to recover that material separately and treat it industrially. And this is where we come in as an industrial player, as Indorama Ventures. But to do that, first of all, we need the recovery. So we need the consumer, for instance, to bring their old clothes that have reached the final stage in their lifespan, to bring it back to the shop and deliver to the shop. So the shops also would change a little bit their current nature, which is not just a sell point. The shops will also become a collection point. Once a garment is in a shop, it can be treated to be either remanufactured, whether the damage is limited, or to be sorted and prepared for recycling. But as we know, textile materials are very complex material. Sometimes they can be monomaterials, like you have a T-shirt. It can be monomaterial of just polyester, which is the fiber that we produce, or it could be cotton, could be anything else, or it could be a blend, which is what most often happens. It's a blend of materials, and this is where chemical recycling steps in. Because basically, what happens with the classical mechanical recycling is that you shred the fabric, and you basically stay with the same fabric, so the same blend of material. But this is only possible in a few cases. If you really want to scale up the game and to change the equation and really achieve circular economy, you need a technology that goes back to a separation of the different materials. So what we say in jargon, you re-monomerize, you go back to the basic material, and then the chemists in our factories can go back to the chemical structure of the different components, so cotton on the one hand and polyester, and recycle. The interesting thing about polyester is that can be recycled almost infinite times. It's I would say the most recyclable material in the textile world.
Yeah, and what role does innovation play in this?
Well, innovation has played, a very big role, of course, but the role I see for innovation currently is not much about technological innovation, because we know the technology. The technology is there since a few years now. What we need is an innovation at business model. So this is a sort of societal innovation. that indeed we put in place and we put one after the others all the right steps, and we inform the consumer, we inform waste managers locally, we inform recyclers, and we form these alliances of industries that are ready to step up the game and to change from the purely competitive mode to a sort of cooperative mode, so competition but also cooperation mode, and in order to make sure that materials are really recovered and recycled. So this is the role I see in the very short term for innovation. Then, of course, I'm extremely a fan of technological innovation, so there will always be a part to play for technological innovation in the future. As I used to say, technology is never enough. So the more we have, the more technological innovation we have, the better. But at present, the innovation challenge that I see is a societal innovation. We need to bring in new habits in our consumption patterns as individual consumer, and also perceive ourselves as every individual should perceive themselves as responsible for the materials we buy and we bring along in our daily life till their end.
That's great. And how do you balance commercial viability with these circular economy initiatives?
Well, it's a good question. You touch a very good point. I would say that in the very short term, when you have a chemically recycled textile, in the very short term, indeed, there will be a higher price to pay. So there is basically a capex, a capital expenditure that needs to be recovered and remunerated that has a cost. So there is a price premium for every item you put in the market from a chemical recycling technologies. You need to put a premium price to basically recover your investment. But I would say, and all of my colleagues agree with me, that's true for the very short term. Once we're able to really scale up the game, at scale up level, the premium would be really low slash, I would say, insignificant. You wouldn't even notice on the price of your T-shirt, of your blue jeans, of your sneakers, or whatever textile product you're buying. You wouldn't even notice. In the short term, yes, I would say there is an effort of will to put your hand on your wallet and you know pull out one, two, a few dollars more for your product. But that would be true only in the very short term.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. So what are your biggest challenges in scaling some of these solutions?
So, well, if I have to tell you about the European situation, which is the one where I'm the most knowledgeable in, is chemical recycling requires production factors as an industrial process. The basic production factors in Europe right now are very expensive. So we are talking about a technology which would be expensive everywhere in the world. And I'm focusing on a region, Europe, where these production factors are even more expensive. So even what we call the so-called linear products, so products that are not conceived to be recyclable or recycled, have a life on a linear economy model, are already a little bit more expensive than other regions in the world because of the mega trends that we are living right now. So this makes the life of circular economy efforts a little bit more difficult. But this is a question more, for maybe what we call political economy or macroeconomic trends that we are seeing, and that applies to every industrial process. It doesn't matter whether it's in a circular economy or in a linear economy model. That's the hard fact. So we need to bring the basic cost of industrial production down in Europe for the circular economy really to take off. And I would say Europe is at least from a regulatory point of view, it's the most advanced region right now for the circular economy to be implemented, but we need to overcome the bottlenecks at business case level in any industry right now. So this is the biggest challenge I see. And this is what I hear mostly from colleagues from within the textile industry and also from other industries, from the steel or glass or wherever they are operating. So the basic cost of operating a factory right now in Europe are very high, and this is not good, of course, when you're trying to put in place a new technology that has already a premium price in itself.
And how are you addressing those challenges?
Well, we are calling on policymakers to rethink basically the energy policy. And well, there are many many factors that contribute to the higher European prices. But the most concerning one right now is energy. So we are calling on them to take the right steps to bring the energy cost down. And we are also working with them to find solutions. So renewable sources of energy has a big part to play in that, and we as a company were also committed to that. We have plants that are fueled by solar and wind power, but that's not enough, of course. When you talk about the energy mix, again, there is no silver bullets. You need the mix of energy technologies to fuel the circular economy and make sure that your pro-industrial processes are fueled by clean energy and affordable energy.
And what's the education process like to get people to understand this?
Well, we engage in as much as we can in public debates and in public information campaigns to inform the consumer about the circular economy potential and the sustainability features of the materials we put on the market and what they need to do in their daily life. It's no rocket science, but it's just a matter of becoming aware of the economic value of a material, even when an article, a product reaches the end of its lifespan. Still, there is a value in that. So we need to make this very fact understood, widely understood, and convince the consumer they need to do simple things in their daily life, like it's basically separate collection. When you separate your trash at home, you are doing circular economy. So you separate paper from glass from organic waste. You need to do the same with your clothes once they reach the end of their life. So don't put it in the what we call in Europe the white bag, which goes into incineration or landfill. Put it in a separate basket, bring it back to the shop so that it can be recovered. It's very simple. We just need to become more aware and make this a simple gesture become second nature. So it starts with the simple act.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how is Indorama helping traditional textile manufacturers transition to some of these circular economy practices?
Well, we are in constant contact with our clients in the downstream, namely the brands in the downstream of the value chain, to see what their sustainability goal is and what's their timeline. We offer them products that are treated with the technology which is, let's say, tailored on their needs. We don't use one single chemical recycling technologies. We have a few of them in our portfolio, and now I cannot, of course, disclose all the details of our business model, or my colleagues in the sales department would kill me even before my boss gets to me. So I don't want that. But we have a range of different technologies that we use to make sure that the sustainability target of our clients is reached within their desired timeline. So, and we use a mix of these technologies depending on their commitments.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about how you're measuring and tracking some of this?
Well, the measurement and keeping track of this is of utmost importance. You don't solve any problem that you cannot measure. We are using basically a blockchain methodology that has a mix of mass balance and segregate approach. So we use a mix of the two. Of course, the objective is to make sure that the overall output of our industrial processes is really reaches the desired outcome by the client, a zero carbon polyester fiber. But to do that, you cannot do it only just with what you call in a blockchain, what you call a segregate approach. The technology isn't really there yet. We are hooked back at our previous line saying we may still need some technological development in the future, but for now we can do an excellent job with a mix of max balance and segregate approach.
That's great. And what strategies are most effective in encouraging industry-wide adoption?
In terms of industry-wide adoption, there isn't really a need to put in place a strategy because everybody wants sustainable and circular products now. The consumer is demanding it. Brands are fully on board and are demanding it. What we need to make sure is that there is enough material on the market and that we don't create price bubbles. because of a mismatch between supply and demand. And as an individual company, I would say we're doing wonderfully on the market. We managed to supply everything that we are required of. I'm not sure we are there in terms of overall sector. So currently the demand for low carbon or zero carbon polyester is there, and the same is valid for all other materials and fibers. So we as an individual company, we manage to supply everything our clients require. I know it's not always the case for all the industrial actors. So we need really to make sure that the whole market moves in the same direction and we meet at the point where demand and supply meet each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you see the industry evolving over the next 5 years?
Well, over the next 5 years, how do I see the industry evolving? There is a fully working sorting and collection infrastructure in all major cities in the world, and in all also in the most populated regions in the world. So Europe, North America, South America, Brazil, in Asia as well. There is a sorting and collection infrastructure fully in place, so that industry and companies like mine can really benefit from from a stable flow of high quality textile waste that can be put into the production process and to be either remanufactured, which wouldn't be our individual case, or recycling, which is where we play a big role, into new products. So I'm thinking about a T-shirt, a blue jeans, or a jacket that can be repaired and refashioned by brands. I'm talking also about textile waste which is too damaged, too compromised to be just remanufactured and is sent into our facilities to be produced into a new carbon neutral fiber where both the feedstock for the production of this fiber is fossil free, and ideally also the energy input is fossil free. And here again, when it comes to energy, the renewable energy has a big role to play. Nuclear energy has a big role to play in order to bring down the CO2 footprint of all production processes all across every sector, I would say, not just the textile sector, but chemicals, steel, and all other economic activities you have on our markets.
Yeah, that's great. What role will automation and AI play in all of this?
Well, of course, I'm not an expert in automation. I could ask on this. I'm really happy to be able to come back to you after consulting my colleagues in the R&D departments and the sustainability departments. Concerning AI, I think AI can really, offers a big opportunity in creating traceability of our products. AI is the tool to make sure that we know what a textile product and a textile waste has gone through its lifetime. So what chemicals have been put in a garment? How can we treat it to make sure that the overall recycling process is not only optimized and made more effective, but also it has the highest safety standard for everyone involved. Knowing the legacy chemical substance on products is key to make sure the circular economy really takes off, and the artificial intelligence model can really help us in that endeavor.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So, what advice would you give to companies just starting out in their circular economy journey?
There are many advices I could give because starting a circular economy journey is a massive endeavor. I would say the most basic one, but not necessarily the most evident one, is reach out to each other. Reach out to your partners and to your competitors, because you will need to work together. There is no circular economy model if there is no circular economy supply chain, or if there is no circular supply and value chain. So cooperate, work together with your industrial partners, with your local authorities, with consumer organizations and NGOs. Everyone has a role, a positive role to play. So be on the lookout mode and reach out to anybody you could reach out to. So I would say it's key, because you need the technology, you need the capital, you need the knowledge. It's essential, but we had knowledge, we had the technology already, I think, 15 years ago, but nothing was happening. So what you need to do is partner with people, partner with companies, with other companies that have the key or part of the key to the solution.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you. What would make 2025 a successful year for your initiatives?
Well, as far as Europe is concerned, I hope that 2025 will be the year where we will see a massive increase of separate collection of textiles, which is, I would say, the first building block towards more recycling. So today we already recycle, we can recycle, but we need to scale up. And to scale up, we need separate collection and a better sorting of textile waste. So we need to stop sending textile waste to other countries to be treated, and we don't really know what happens with this waste. We need to do it here. We need to separate and clean the waste where the waste is generated, and then we can talk about creating clean waste to be treated by the chemical industry, by chemical companies like us, to be produced into new products. 2025, my wish, my desire is let's do this moonshot of scaling up more sorted textile waste.
That sounds great. Well, that's it for today's episode of A Healthier, Happier You, the people working to make it happen. A huge thank you to Paolo for sharing his and Indorama's vision for sustainable textiles. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could benefit. If you're a brand or business making an impact in health, wellness, or personal care, we'd love to help you grow. Connect with me at luxhammer.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, and keep making a difference.